Hello again. I'm Stephen Wells, the host of the Motoring Weekly podcast for the Australian Historic Road and Race community. On last week's programme, I covered the Club Maserati Australia Concours event, and I said that I had a technical issue with the first interview with Josh and Dennis from McCarrolls Classic. So it was only right to meet them again, on their turf this time, at the workshop. So we started the interview in a glass-encased office before heading into the workshop with all the typical background sounds to talk about the cars being worked on, the equipment available to them, and of course the team. So here's round two with Dennis and Josh. I'm back with Dennis and Josh from McCarrolls Classic in the workshop and the main snazzy office that we've got here within the larger workshops at McCarrolls Classic. I wanted to catch up again because we had a technology failure the last time we met, and so it's only right that I come in and have a look around and also find out a bit more about what's going on with the Classic and also the cars that they had at the concourse the other week. So I'll start with Dennis. Dennis, you were there at the concourse. You actually won Best Dressed Male.
Yeah, I don't know why. So I just pick up one of the things that when my partner say, "Oh, you look awful in that," and then guess what? I won the Best Dressed Male award. Yeah, but thanks for having me the other day.
It was a good day. You brought quite a few vehicles along. You had a couple of Gran Turismos. You had, I did see a Levante and a Grecales were there, plus a Ghibli 334 and the MC20. So the Ghibli 334 is the last of the V8s, is it?
Yeah, that's the last of the V8, and I think Maserati just decided to have a very limited production run on that vehicle. And they tune a bit as well. They get rid of some of the electronics. They just go for a very extensive, like an in-house surgery, put it this way, to try to make this car as quick as possible. I think it's actually the quickest sedan in the world at the moment. It's actually quicker than the Bugatti Veyron and our own MC20 as well. Yeah, so it's remarkable.
And that, so that's better than the Ghibli Trofeo that was out.
Yeah, it's slightly quicker, but I think it's definitely for different type of person. That 334 will be more like enthusiast or a bit more like a collector's item as well, with that being numbered with the car. The Trofeo will have a little bit more comfort features in the vehicle as well. So it's different, slightly different market with that. Mm.
Okay. And then you had the Gran Turismos, and I noticed that they've gone back to a twin turbo V6, just like my old bi-turbo. So that's a little nod back to the heritage of the 80s, having that configuration in there. You just launched the Gran Turismo, the Gran Cabrio as well recently. Is that also coming out here?
Yeah, the Grand Cabrio will be here later this year with that, because we definitely very excited with that vehicle, because the size silhouette, it just looked amazing on that vehicle. And back to your V6 twin turbo unit, for us, we actually try not to say it is a look back with that, because it's actually produced a lot more power compared to the V8. And overseas report, it shows a very, very good reliability as well. And also you can see the car is competing in the Fanatic GT2 series and is doing extremely well. So I think it's actually quite a huge advancing with that for our brand.
And I did see in the Il Tridente magazine quite an interesting article about the MC20 and some of the limited edition ones that hark back to the MC12. They looked absolutely sensational.
Yeah, they are scheduled for the collector's item, and especially the livery and everything. They just pay a look back to the MC12, the winning one, the black and green. I forgot the sponsor on that vehicle, but they have two types of the design, and all pay homage to the back of the MC20, MC12 era on that. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I like about what Maserati does, is they have that nod back to their heritage in some of the colour schemes, but also even the design of the vehicles has got a nod back to a 50s car or something. So there's always something connecting back to the heritage. And it's what now, 114, 115 years old as a mark?
Yeah, 114 years old this year. And when you talk about the design, I do really think, I think one of the designer, I forgot his name, but he say Maserati vehicle is one of the most easily recognized vehicle if you look at it on the side, because not too many cars manufactured that you can easily recognize on the side, like apart from the Testarossa with that, but all the Maserati with the side badge on the seat pillar and the vents on the side, the three vents, it makes it a really signature, and you can tell it's a Maserati from miles away.
I had a colleague in the States who had a Buick, and they showed me just a side profile of it, and they asked me what I thought it was, and I told them it was a Buick because it actually copied those three little vents on the side. Oh, okay. And they were quite surprised that I knew that the Buick had copied that little design feature, which is good. Over to you, Josh. We're in the fairly large area that Maserati and McCarrolls have here, and downstairs there's Fiat and Abarth, I think Jeep and Renault also service downstairs. Over the road you've got Lexus, so you've got a very big site here for not just servicing of new vehicles but the older vehicles as well. Do you also have paint and panel here?
Yes, we do, yeah. So we've got an in-house body shop, which is run and owned by McCarrolls. So it's basically an authorised dealer for Ferrari, Maserati and Lexus body repairs. So everything's pretty much all done in-house now. So we don't have any real need to send cars anywhere else. Everything's all done inside the company, and it makes it much easier for the business and much easier for the customers to get that whole experience of not having to go to different places, like a one-stop shop now, pretty much.
And then if there are things that you can't find, and I know on my Stradale you'd sourced some braided brake lines and then you'd fitted those and got that working for me. So you've still got the connection out to other suppliers for specific pieces of kit?
Yeah, of course. When there's like specialised repairs that are needed or specialised parts, there's definitely other suppliers and contacts that we've got in the network that can basically assist us with really anything that we need, whether it's brake components, transmission components, diff, engine work, all that sort of stuff. We've got contacts either locally or internationally that we've got reputations with and ongoing sort of rapport with that we can utilise whenever we need to. So it makes things very easy.
How many people actually work up here in the Maserati and the Classic section?
So in this business here, for Maserati and Ferrari and Classic Air, we've got 7 front of house staff, which is myself and other advisors and other workshop staff. And then you've got the technical team's 11, which compromises of basically technicians and apprentices as well. So it's got a fairly big team now, 18 in total. So there's a lot of staff here now. The business is booming and business is growing, which is good.
Yeah. I can see that when I came in, there were newer customer cars parked out, but also the range of cars that you've got in there of different ages, either waiting for work or they're just parked up ready for action along the way. And then you've got a nice little sort of porthole windows into the actual workshop, so customers can see what's going on in there, which I think is good. Sometimes, when you're in a restaurant and you see that, you don't really want to see what they're doing to your food. But here, it's actually quite nice because you get to see how things are working and what's going on. So the whole area is, to be honest, it's spotlessly clean around here. It's not like the old days when you had sort of, rubbish and everything floating around. It is quite an amazing environment. I've said it's like the best man cave in the world here.
Yeah, definitely. It's something we take a lot of pride in and a lot of care in to keep the facilities in the impeccable condition that it's in. It's not just a fluke that it happened today. It's like this every day of the week, 5 days a week. So it's as soon as the guys finish with something, they put it away. If they make a mess, they clean it up. Like it's a very good team environment and culture that we've got here within the company and McCarrolls as a whole, really. So it's fantastic facilities, which is world class. even we've got some other delegates from Maserati, Italy that come over, or Ferrari, and they mentioned to us that these conditions that we've got here and the facilities that we've got is really second to none in not just Australian standards, but worldwide international standards across every dealers that they go to. It's one of the best that they see.
And I think that's good, because that stretches down into the classic world as well, because now you're working on things in a clean environment. You're able to sort of look at them in a completely different way. It's no longer just, your average Joe looking at them and trying to fix them. You've got the kit, you've got the people, and then if you look out of the window, who knows what you've got on the stand at the moment. It could be brand new, it could be 40 years old. And that for a car enthusiast is a really good feel, because it gives us comfort that you guys know what you're doing, and you're covering different types of technologies along the way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, just as we've got, there's a Fiat 124 here at the moment, which we're fully restoring from bare metal to fully restored vehicles. So those sort of cars from the 70s. Then you've got also F40 here on the hoist, getting some repairs done and some preventative maintenance. So there's a very broad range of cars here at the moment to sort of showcase what we're able to do, and the skills that the guys have, which they even go to the extent of sending the technicians to Italy for training. There's a lot of new technology coming out, as well as obviously honing skills for previous model vehicles, which we continue to work on. So there's a lot of ongoing training and evolving the skills that we need to develop to basically repair these cars and keep them on the road to such a high standard.
And then even sort of downstairs, do you bring the cars up here if they need specific work, or is downstairs the same for the older Fiats and Alphas that come in?
Look, they're kind of run on a separate department. I don't think they do as much of the classic stuff as we do. They do more of the new stuff. I don't think they do as much as the restoration work or classic work that we do. But in saying that, if there's an older car, like we've done older Abarths before, older Fiats, most of them would come through us if they're going to need restoration or any sort of repairs or maintenance. So
it's mostly down to the owners saying, hey, can you also look after my classic Fiat? Or I think for a while you had a Lotus Cortina in here and an old Jag as well. So I presume that they are either customer cars where they're trusting you with 3 or 4 motors, and or is it something that you're picking up and then repairing and restoring and then getting it back on the market again?
Yes, McCarrolls Classic is kind of its own department in its own right. We've got just dedicated technicians that just work on classic cars pretty much all the time, as well as the 2000 GT project we've been undertaking. That's basically a full restoration, nut and bolt. The chassis and body's all separated, bare metal respray. All the components have been replaced or renewed or restored. So that's been a fantastic process for the guys to go through, and a very lengthy process, but it's one of the things where when you go into this much detail and that much skill is required, it's one of the things that can't be rushed sometimes. But we've got a lot of the pieces of the puzzle now back here. It's just now in the final assembly stages to get that car finished and get it ready on the road. So that'd be it shouldn't be too much longer until that's finished. So I'm sure we'll be able to display that in some events coming up early next year, which is good.
I think it'll be good to see that one on the road, because you have put a lot of effort into it, and they are so rare. I think only about 350 were made. So again, it's good to have that vehicle on show the workmanship that went into it, but also because of that rarity value, it's going to be an absolute concours winner.
For sure.
Well, can we have a wander around and have a look and see what's out there, as it were? Sure. Because this is quite an interesting environment to be in. So thank you. So we've got the main area out in the front with a couple of the customer cars, and obviously my old thing in the way. And then into the main workshop where you've got, I presume, some of these cars up on the back are pre-delivery cars?
Yeah, some of the cars are stock vehicles that we're preparing to sell. So as they come in from Italy, we do a pre-delivery process, which involves obviously just doing some basic checks on the vehicle, detailing and cleaning the vehicle in preparation for sale. Down the back, we also have some of the cars we keep for storage for customers. So whether they don't have enough room for all their vehicles at their house, we can store them here for a fee and maintain them on charges and wash them, get them ready for pickup whenever they need to drive them as well. So yeah, it's a very handy sort of service we offer for customers that have multiple vehicles. We've also got other cars just in for service and repair, and basically cars waiting for other work or attention that's needed.
Yep.
So,
And you have some race cars in here as well?
yeah, so we have a dedicated McCarrolls race team, which is MC Corsa, which is a sort of under the same McCarrolls Ferrari North Shore banner, but it's evolving into its own entity in its own right. So basically running either now 296 challenge cars coming through, 458 and 488 challenge spec vehicles, which are just dedicated to racing only. Obviously you can't drive them on the street, unfortunately, and basically we have about between sort of 8 to 12 vehicles that we maintain on a permanent basis, which the cars are all stored here, and whether they're going to the Bend in South Australia, or we went to Hidden Valley recently, Bathurst, Sydney Motorsport Park, whatever the case is, we've got the team that we can send out to offer assistance and track assistance on the day, and also all the equipment we've got that can maintain and service those cars while they're at the track and after.
That's pretty good. One of the Ferraris has just fired up as part of its general service. You've got a BMW M3 there on historic plates being looked after as well, which is excellent. And then if we walk down through to the main workshop area, you've got a couple of the newer cars, mid-range cars in here. It's the Fiat 124 Coupe up on the hoist as well. What are you doing with that?
So that's a full restoration, nut and bolt restoration from scratch. So basically, customer approached us to perform that restoration for them, basically to relive some of their past memories when they were younger. So the vehicle itself was in pretty bad condition when it got to us. They didn't actually have the car before they had this car we got was like a donor car, I would say, to basically carry out this restoration so that we can try and replicate a car that they used to own. So I guess it's the nostalgia and that sort of reliving the memories that they once had when they were younger, which basically justifies all the expense and the cost that goes into these big jobs that when we're doing restorations.
Yep. My uncle had one of those. I think last time I saw you, I said when he got married in the early 70s, his mates tied a load of plant pots behind it at my grandmother's house, and he's a racing driver. And when he got in with his new wife, he took off like a scolded cat and took all the plant pots with him. My grandmother wasn't happy, and my mum was just shrugging her shoulders saying, well, what do you expect from him, you know? And he got out and just cut the cords and drove off onto his honeymoon, leaving a hell of a mess behind. So I have fond memories of seeing those in action.
Yep. Yeah, so they're a pretty fun car, rear-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, manual, so I'm sure it'll be a fantastic car to drive. We're going to do some sort of small changes to it to add a little bit of a better modern sound system to it, some more sound insulation and heat-resistant matting on the inside just to try and make it a little bit of a nicer car to drive. But all in all, trying to keep it as original as possible without sort of changing the car too much, but trying to make it as a nicer car to drive as we can.
And I think a lot of people are now doing that. They're looking at newer materials and trying to make them a bit more suited to modern driving, as well as having that classic style, and not drifting too far away from original, but just putting in something that actually makes it more drivable in thicker traffic, because when that thing was out originally, there would have been half or a quarter of the traffic that we've got today.
That's right.
So if we look around as well, you've got a couple of other Ferraris on the go as well. And then last time I was here down in the corner, you had the Toyota. Where's that now?
So the chassis is over in the workshop. Basically, now we're just in the final stages of rebuilding the gearbox. The engine's just getting some final machining work done, and that'll be here for assembly shortly. The body itself is basically getting some custom trim work carried out, so it was easier just to send the complete shell of the vehicle there to do the trimming instead of constantly coming backwards and forwards trying to confirm fitment and finish and all that sort of stuff as well. So that's where we're at with that.
And then you've got a single-seater monocoque on its own there. So what's that from?
So that's an F3. Basically, it's an open-wheel racer. It's probably like a Formula Ford, but on big steroids. So that's a bit of a project we're undertaking for one of our other customers. He's got a Ferrari challenge car as well. So I guess this is just another step for him to get into motorsport racing and that sort of thing, which is obviously open wheels is completely different to a 488 challenge car. So it's just a different vehicle for him to drive.
And that presumably then is where your own team comes to hand, because you've got those skills to be able to do a range of different cars, which, you know, it's surprising to see a single-seater monocoque in an organisation where you've got an F40 on a hoist, a 355 Berlinetta, and other cars, and all mostly road cars, but then in the middle you've got that shell just sitting there being worked on.
Yeah, exactly. So that car basically, we started with the process of getting him to the motorsport license. Then there's now some repairs we're doing with this in terms of suspension components, ordering stuff for the carbon fibre chassis from Dallara, all those sort of parts of the piece to get everything back together and in tip-top shape for racing, because obviously that's the most extreme form of motorsport. When these cars are tested on the track is definitely the hardest part, where that car's going to have its work cut out for it, that's for sure. So
it is fascinating when you come in and you've got a whole range of different vehicles, from the normal saloons, and you've got some of the Grand Tourers and the out-and-out sports cars here. It must be quite interesting, Dennis, coming in for you to see the cars, and to then do you pick some of them up, and are you able to sort of test them yourself?
I'm unable to, but it's nice enough to just come in here, as you say, like a man cave, to look at it. It's really fascinating. I still remember, like, nearly 2 years ago when the first time I stepped into here and said, oh my God, what is this place?
Are you in Artarmon and also Maserati Sydney? So those are the main showrooms and used car showrooms as well. So you're bouncing between here, Waterloo, and Artarmon a fair bit, I presume.
Yeah. So most of the time I'll be in Artarmon, but sometimes in Sydney as well, depending where they need me, where the boss call. But we do have a huge selection of very fine used car as well, some very late model. We're just helping people to get onto the Ferrari or the Maserati. They trade in. Just today we got an Aston Martin, a vintage 2020, I think. So just coming in with that. So lots of cars like that.
I think it's good that people are able to come in and to be able to work their way up. They work their way up, and I know a lot of people that have bought, for example, a 4200 Maserati, and then they've gone to a Grand Sport, and then, like myself, up to a Stradale before going backwards to the historics. I think it helps people to plan the style of car they want, and to be able to then have it looked after as well once they've made that purchase.
Something for them to look forward to when they go to work. What is my next target?
But also, I've worked with guys who've had Ferrari mugs and stuff on, and they followed the Ferrari F1 team and you talk to them and say, well, that's the ultimate goal. That's why they're working, is to be able to get to a point where they've got something that they can have on the weekend and run and enjoy it. And I know a number of guys that have got, yeah, exactly, like the, you know, whether it's a Formula 3 car or an F355, something that makes them happy. It gives them a lot of enjoyment about running them, but knowing that there's an ecosystem of people and specialists around that can actually make it work. And I think if you were to have open days here, most people would come in and just be gobsmacked about the amount of technology you've got here and how you're looking after them. When
their cars are in for maintenance, if they've got track cars or race cars, that we've got a simulator as well, so they can do driver training as well, which is just another part of the man cave, I guess. We've got also like 3D printing. So if you look over here, we've got a engineering desk where basically they do 3D printing and modeling. So for the 2000 GT, we actually had to manufacture a complete bell housing for the vehicle. So we've got 3D scanning, zinc plating and chrome plating and stuff that we can do as well. Most of the zinc plating stuff we do in-house. Chrome plating is a little bit more complicated, but we outsource that. But most of the zinc plating we do in-house, which is fantastic. So we can.
That was going to be one of my next questions about how you can 3D print parts and even tools if you need them, because when you're working on the older cars, often they've got specific tools for a purpose that are no longer available. So you've got the kit here now to be able to remanufacture not just a part, but also a tool to help you along the way.
Yeah, anything that we need, whether it's a tool, like if you look over here for this, the side mirror, for example, for the 2000 GT, we couldn't actually source a new one, so we had to 3D scan this. Once we've been able to 3D scan it, a prototype part, then basically we can manufacture that any way we want, whether we use the CAD file to send to a manufacturing place and they can CNC machine that for us. Or we can 3D print it out of composite materials. So there's different composite materials for different purposes. Even some of the old, we did a Ghibli not too long ago, similar to HDO car, where the fuel pump actually sits in a rubber housing. And the rubber started to perish and actually started to block the fuel pickup. So that part is no longer available. So we actually designed one and printed one, 3D printed it out of carbon composite, which is fuel safe, and then basically that replaced that rubber component for good. So those sort of things where we don't have access to parts, we can manufacture them. Even some of the 2000 GT dash vents underneath for the ventilation system were completely deteriorated and falling apart. We then 3D printed and modeled replacement ductings, so we can replace them and have that car look as original as possible, but still function as it should. So
now I know if my fuel pump fails, I now know where to go because you've done it.
That's exactly right. We've got a lot of experience, and the guys are very skilled. So yeah, definitely be the best place to bring it here for sure.
All right, I'll remember that in the future. It is actually fascinating having a look at this table with all the parts on it. Is this all from the Toyota?
Yeah, this is all from the Toyota. So we've got the sump, and we've got other components here, other electronic components, which has all been zinc plated and repaired. So a lot of these old components you can't source. So whether it's old relays, contacts, fuses, all that sort of stuff are not easily accessible or easily to be replaced. So most of the stuff we have to actually manually make up diagrams of how things work and how they basically operate, so that we can kind of reverse engineer it in a way that kind of still stays true to the era of the vehicle without deteriorating too much of that heritage, but also still being functional and using a little bit of modern technology to make sure that it's operating properly.
So you're actually going back to effectively the basics of re-documenting the whole, how the car was built and all the pieces in there.
Yep.
And I guess now you've got a library in there for other people. If they happen to have a similar age vehicle, you can now map it back and say, well, look, we did it for a 2000 GT, we could also do it for you. So potentially you've got now a very valuable library for a rare vehicle, but as we know with a lot of these vehicles, they shared components later on. So once something has been designed, some of those ideas go forward onto other vehicles. So this is becoming a very valuable, housing for documents about how the cars were built in the early days.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what Adriano started off quite early on with, documenting everything from the process of the car arriving to having GoPro set up to document the car being stripped. So there's photos of everything, videos of everything, a lot of documentation and work that we've done for researching, which just takes many hours. That's a lot of the time spent in researching for parts, researching for the technology, how to repair them, how it was done back in the day. There's endless hours spent in that area. So to be able to document it and then be able to learn from it and utilize that for other repairs and other customers' cars and other projects in the future will be absolutely invaluable for us.
So Adriano, he's the chief, I guess?
He's our fearless leader. He's actually on annual leave, a deserved break, so hopefully he's enjoying himself in Italy at the moment. So, but yeah, he's the brains behind all of this. So yeah, it definitely wouldn't be anywhere near as successful without his overseeing and his passion of all this. It sort of draws us all into his story of how this all should work. So it's a fantastic.
I actually met him, I think, probably 12 years ago at a club event. I think it was just when McCarrolls were taking over the dealership and thinking about how to then, as you said, grow a business out of taking on a new mark and being able to take a step up from the different marks that were already in the family, as it were. So being able to watch how the business has grown over the years and diversify is fascinating, and it's really something that, seeing what we have here today and the incredible amount of work that's going in, not just to looking after cars, but the technologies and the theory of what you're doing is absolutely brilliant, and it's something we should celebrate down here because it's something that we should be proud of.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the key things, all the guys here, that they have a passion for the brand, they have a passion for cars. We don't do it just because it's a job. We do it because we all love the cars and love being here, which I think is really a testament to the McCarrolls management and the whole company as a whole, really. Like everyone that is here, it's all one team, one dream, as we say. So it really is a great place to work and a fantastic company. And I think that then flows on to how we look after customers and how we look after the cars, that we treat them as our own. So I think then that the customers really, I guess, experience that experience of us taking care of everything as if it was our own car, which is really important.
And obviously with the ranges of vehicles here, from very old to very new, you did have the Mistral Spider that was at the concourse here. Is that still here?
That's back in storage with the owner, so that's back with the owner. So for them to enjoy it sort of on the weekends, I guess, when they can put the top down and enjoy that beautiful Spider. But yeah, that's a fantastic car. It's a regular car that we look after and maintain. So it's a beautiful car.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Dennis and Josh. It's good to actually come in and have a proper look at the equipment you've got here and to be able to talk about what you guys do. So appreciate your time this morning, and we'll catch up in the near future, no doubt.
Anytime. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. That's all for this week. More great interviews coming over the next few weeks. If you have a club or event that you would like highlighted, send an email to stephen@motoringweekly.com.au and I'll be in touch. And don't forget to subscribe through your favourite podcast player and get the episodes delivered as they drop. I'm Stephen Wells, and you've listened to Motoring Weekly, the podcast for the Australian historic road and racing community.